Straight drop, going deep in that direction, and he reaches out and makes the grab and takes it to the 4-yard line. Burrow trying to keep it going, gets spun down, gets it away, and incomplete. It looked like P-Ron might have had a shot to make the grab, but the Rams now running down to celebrate with a defensive.
From this moment on, the Bengals were never the same. So the Bengals lost in the Super Bowl. So what? Plenty of teams have lost a Super Bowl before. In fact, 24 out of 32 teams have at some point. It's about how you respond to the Super Bowl loss that really matters. And, well, in the offseason following the Super Bowl loss, the Bengals knew they had work to do. They were a 10-7 team that had an incredible postseason run, and they refused to settle for mediocrity. Joe Burrow was, and still is, their biggest asset, so they sought asset protection. They signed 3 offensive linemen in free agency, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and Lael Collins, and they drafted guard Cordell Volson in the 4th round. They added to their defense by drafting cornerbacks Daxton Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt. The offseason's most significant departure was CJ Uzomah, who, by all indications, was a great locker room presence and leader. Not a glamorous offseason, but ultimately it worked. The following season, the Bengals would have their best season to date under quarterback Joe Burrow and head coach Zach Taylor by posting an impressive 12-4 record with wins over the 14-3 Kansas City Chiefs, the 10-7 Baltimore Ravens, and the 9-8 Miami Dolphins. They scored the 7th most points in the league that season and allowed the 6th least. Joe Burrow stayed healthy for a full season and threw a career best, at the time, 35 touchdowns to finish 4th in MVP voting. Who could possibly halt the imposing momentum the Cincinnati Bengals had been building?
I mean, right now, it favors that, but you still got a chance to clock it. Take your time and take the shot down. Here's Mahomes rolling out on 3rd and 4. He's going to go for the, yes, he's got the marker, he's got the out of bounds to stop it. And Osai was hurt as he hit the bench, and a flag's coming in to put him 15 yards closer.
One penalty can change the course of history forever. Instead of retaining their status as champions of the AFC, the Bengals were sent to an early offseason. Despite their attempt at bolstering the offensive line the year prior, the Bengals decided that more work was needed. During the 2023 offseason, the Bengals made a splash, giving former Chiefs tackle Orlando Brown Jr. a 4-year, $64 million contract with over $43.5 million in guarantees. But this came at a cost, having spent over $50 million on offensive line reinforcements, which ultimately didn't work out. The Bengals were unable to retain Pro Bowl safety and team captain Jesse Bates III, who would head to Atlanta. The Bengals' 2023 draft was headlined by first-round edge prospect Myles Murphy, followed by DBs DJ Turner and Jordan Battle in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, respectively. Although these players haven't made meaningful contributions to the team, they did draft running back Chase Brown in the 5th round. Following the devastating season's end at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs, who, in all fairness, would go on to win the Super Bowl, the Bengals came out flat to begin their 2023 campaign. They started off 1-3, including a 27-3 loss to the eventual 6-11 Tennessee Titans, but this would be just the start of the collapse for the once prominent Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals' star player and franchise leader, Joe Burrow, would sustain a season-ending wrist injury in a Week 11 game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals would finish 9-8 and miss the postseason. Players had left. Their coach was under siege with fans calling for his job, and their quarterback had suffered his 2nd season-ending injury under his rookie contract. Where could the Bengals go from here? Well, they still had quarterback Joe Burrow and wide receiver Jamar Chase, and despite the defense regressing to the 25th ranked in the league, the Bengals' 2 future Hall of Famers had the best duo season since Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp in 2021. Burrow threw 43 touchdowns on 70% completion, en route to winning Comeback Player of the Year for the 2nd time. And Chase led the NFL in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, securing a triple crown. The first in Bengals franchise history, and just the 3rd since 2005, which is insane, and adding him to an elite group of players that includes Don Hutson, Lance Allworth, Jerry Rice, Sterling Sharp, Steve Smith Sr., and Cooper Kupp. Must have been a great season for the Bengals, given their two best players had historic seasons, right? Right? No. The Bengals would finish 9-8 after an 0-3 start and a 4-7 record heading into the Week 12 bye. They had missed the postseason for 2 consecutive years. It seemed like the magic they captured during the 2021-2022 playoff run had evaporated. The 2025 season started with controversy, followed by yet another season-altering injury for Burrow. The Bengals made a concentrated effort to play starters, mainly Burrow, more during the preseason due to slow starts to the season in previous years. But their plan was halted immediately when Burrow suffered a turf toe injury that would require surgery during their Week 2 contest versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, maybe if the Bengals could at least stay afloat until Burrow returns, they could potentially make a push for contention in the AFC. I mean, even just going 500 would be great. Nope. So this brings us to present day. The Bengals are 5-10, a far cry from their 2021 AFC winning roster. Their quarterback has returned, but it's far too late. They have now missed the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season, and the future just feels bleak. What is the problem with the Bengals of Cincinnati? Why can't they reclaim their position atop the AFC North and the AFC at large? Well, throughout the 3-year playoff drought, there have been 2 constants: poor drafting and Joe Burrow's injuries. It doesn't take a genius to understand the concept of a football team being better when their best player plays, but I think it's worth looking a bit deeper. Let's look at how well the Bengals and head coach Zach Taylor perform with and without Joe Burrow. When Burrow plays, Zach Taylor has a respectable, if not slightly mediocre, 55% win percentage and a 41-32-1 record, averaging 25.2 points per game, which in today's landscape would rank 10th. When Burrow is out, the Bengals have just a 30% win percentage with a 7-16 record, and their points per game dips to just 20.2, which would rank 26th this season. Aside from the offensive dip the Bengals inherit when Burrow isn't playing, they haven't exactly done an exceptional job of building the roster as a whole either. Let's look at their last 3 draft classes under pseudo-GM and owner Mike Brown. 2022's class was headlined by Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt. While both of these players seem to be fine contributors, they are certainly far from delivering value relative to where they were taken. The Bengals class of 2023 saw contributions from Chase Brown, who, as previously mentioned, was drafted in the 5th round and has emerged as the lead back. But the rest of the group has not helped much. Myles Murphy, their 1st-round pick, has registered 7.5 sacks in 44 games. But hey, sacks don't tell the whole story. I mean, maybe he gets a lot of pressures. Yeah, no. Murphy this season has just 33 quarterback pressures, according to NFL Pro, on 301 pass rush snaps, which is a rate of just 11%. Aside from those 2, 2024 seemed like a good draft initially, headlined by the behemoth bulldog from Georgia, Amarius Mims, and D-tackle Chris Jenkins in the 2nd round, with some seemingly solid additions in the middle rounds in tight end Eric All and Jermaine Burt. Oh, never mind. So, for some players, it's too early to tell, but for others, it's evident that the Bengals could have drafted or developed better. But it doesn't matter what you or I think. What really matters is what Joe Burrow thinks. What does Joe Burrow think?
You know, if I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for?
Then you got to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to play hardball, or you're going to tell them if you don't want to play here, go home and sit on the couch like Carson Palmer, and they'll just wait for the opportunity to trade.
What we do know is today felt different from Joe.
I'm done with football. I've got enough money. I've achieved as much as I want to achieve.
Me as a quarterback who consistently plays at an MVP level, not lose football games.
Now Cincinnati Bengal quarterback Joey Burrow had a press conference that has the whole world talking. Is he all right?
No.
Is Joey Burrow all right? You tell us.
This is truly rock bottom of the Burrow era for Bengals fans. They have missed the playoffs for a 3rd consecutive season. They have not drafted well to establish a future beyond the current construct of the roster. And now the biggest blemish of all, their star, transcendent, all-pro, future Hall of Fame quarterback is unhappy. I'm sure most remember the Andrew Luck retirement heard around the world and immediately think these situations are comparable. While that opinion is not wrong, I think we may have something different here. I think Burrow loves football far too much to walk away from it during his prime. Burrow has spent the last 6 years giving the city his all and rapidly becoming one of the biggest stars in the state of Ohio, but the Bengals have failed to return the favor. Is the Zach Taylor era over? Does Burrow request a trade? What happens to Jamar if Burrow leaves? I don't know the answer to these questions. What I do know, and I'm sure many teams across the league know as well, is that the time is ticking. Burrow recently said, when asked if he can see himself playing anywhere else besides Cincy next season,
I can't see that, no.
But anything is possible. I mean, Phillip Rivers just played a game literally off the couch. The Bengals need to figure this thing out, and fast. The AFC is only getting stronger, and I don't know how much longer Joe Burrow will deal with this organizational instability. It's been 4 long years for Bengals fans since that electrifying Super Bowl run. Even with just a 3-point loss, it felt like the Bengals were on the cusp of an incredible and era-defining stretch of title contention. Now, the Bengals will enter what is perhaps the single most important offseason in team history. And Joe Burrow may be on board for another year at least, but loyalty has an expiration date, and the Bengals are quickly running out of time to prove they are worthy of it.